everybody. Welcome in. Today marks the first time we are doing this it's actually for parents of children who have learning differences or ESE, and sometimes they are called learning disabled. Also, children who are, it's called PDD-NOS, pervasive developmental disorders, not otherwise specified, autism, just neurodiverse children, physically disabled. We will be here for you, but I have no background in that whatsoever, but I would be happy to have guests on who can speak into that. I do have friends who have gotten their medical foster and have worked with children in that capacity, as far as who need GI tubes and things like that. I know other people who work with adults with disabilities, and I'm hoping to have them on too, or pre-recording, or do a pre-recording with them and maybe do a premiere at this time. Oh, thanks, my Renaissance grandma. But yeah, let me greet everybody who came in. I really appreciate you guys coming in. I know some of you didn't realize I was going to do this. I had it in my mind to do it, but I've been so busy. I didn't give some people heads up to let them know. Thank you for coming in, Associate Minister and Reserve Deacon, Mr. Terry Jones. I'd like to thank Aiden Neer, Storms, Radios, and Cats, and DCBs for popping in. He said he's got to go. He's mowing the lawn. My Renaissance grandma and Miss Sharon. Thank you. You're in live chatter. Yes, true. I need to make sure too that I am on the right one on the other side. I am in live chat. Please make sure that you are also in live chat and getting all the messages so we can all follow along together. Of course, I backed up and like the blanket wants to fall and it's on warm. I myself have fibro. My back is hurting me because I was just doing all the things to try and be able to do this live. Folding the laundry. I made some banana bread with chocolate chips out of my mom's cookbook that could have even been my great grandmother's. That's one from the 1800s. My mom had the reprint in 1950, and that's what I was using. And yeah, it came out pretty good. I did muffins and a banana bread loaf. So the house smells really nice right now. I love that smell. But really this is just to kick off and hopefully encourage other parents who have children on the spectrum or have learning differences, because our days are a little bit different than neurotypical parents of neurotypical children. And some of the things that we struggle with, though, like it might be what a parent of a neurotypical child deals with a toddler. However, our child might be 10 years old or, older. So they might be able to relate to that as far as, yeah, I've gone through that. That's just typical childhood. But then when they hear, oh, yeah, but my, son or daughter is 10 years old or 8 or 9, and they're at a, 1-year-old level. Oh, I would share. I would hand out snacks if we all were close by, I would have a table with that and drinks. Oh, I am so sorry to hear that. When you hit. My Southern oil truck. You went to heaven. So you died for a little bit? Wow. Yeah, I imagine for children who understand that label, it is devastating. I went through school knowing I was different because I had ADHD and dyslexia, but I didn't realize it until after, I was homeschooling my daughter who was high functioning autistic. And that's the thing too. I come from a background where I went to school. Hi, the Bud Files. Welcome in. I went to school for fine arts and education. See, my Wi-Fi is acting up now. For education, I have my degree in, fine arts education. It's in both. It's like a major minor. And I taught in schools for Malachi for about 9 years. And then I homeschooled my daughter for up until she was about 16 years old, and she tested out. Like, her standardized testing was unbelievable. Malachi still is 10, and he's struggling to do circle stop, and where you draw an H. There's a way to do it with the children where it's like down, down, across, and he still struggles with that. So, my background is that I did that with her. She was not speaking when she was younger. That was why I came home also, because she went to preschool for a little while and they were sending home homework with her. And I figured, they're going to send up home this much homework with her from preschool. What are the other classes going to, be like once she, gets into kindergarten, first grade? Hey, Shawnee, welcome in. Oh, okay. Yeah, for my breakfast and lunch, I just had banana chocolate chip muffins. Like, I want to say 2.5. They're gluten free though. Different. It's certainly a challenge, but not without the rewards either. Yeah, I can agree with that. Depends on how different you are, because sometimes the rewards are really difficult to see. And yeah, you know, there are, the gifted kids that also had a learning difference that was like they would be accelerated in one area. And that was my daughter. She was really, what we found out later, a lot of the kids who were in the gifted classes when, like, my nephews were younger, a lot of them would be considered high functioning autistic, but at the time they weren't getting tested for, any of their weaknesses, and, their verbal was there. So really they would have been more Asperger's kids. But yeah, she was gifted in that she had hyperlexia. I had the dyslexia, and she was able, that helped her with being able to read early, which helped her with her speech, and, helped me to help teach her speech. She did do a little speech therapy while we were at the school, because the speech therapist was already there for a severe child on the spectrum. He had a paraprofessional that would follow him around class and would sit with him even in my class. But that was at a small private school. I keep seeing my phone flash because it's such a windy day. It keeps setting off my cameras around the house. Let me see. So, hey, Garrett. That's great. In West Palm, you're in the area? What? I didn't know you were in the area. Why didn't you say you were coming down to Florida? Like, in the area, like West Palm. Not that I could, like, really, I'm pretty busy, but that's wild. Takes a lifetime sometimes, a whole long time. Yeah. Mm. Did you yourself have children on the spectrum or learning disabled, or well, I keep not wanting to use that word now with Terry. I'm sorry, Terry. Learning, differently abled, we'll say. But yes, that was very, very sweet. And yeah, they before I forget again, check your um I've had some gains, yes, they did, but yours won't kick in. They just went up to Saturday. So I did gain, and I'm trying to think of the add-on that I have, what it's called. Oh, vidIQ is saying that I have 2007, but I'm not there. YouTube is saying I have 2,600 and something. Let me look. I can check now because it's 2,681. So yeah, what you're doing is going to really help me, Barry. So I appreciate you doing that and running my stuff. I so appreciate it. But yeah, with Hannah, that helped her. Um, with her learning difference that she struggled in math, which is what that was my struggle in school. But we were able to also get her over to therapy at the barn, and the barn helped her a lot to come out of her shell. Hey, welcome. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, Barry's been good about helping me with my hours. Oh, really? That's interesting. I've never heard of that song. I'm sorry, Garrett. I know if Gear was in here, he would know exactly what you're talking about. He knows music like you do. Hey, love the land homestead. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, but the thing is even with ESC children, they change where they are. There's called the DSM-5, which is the book that says what is on the spectrum, like what the labels are going to be called this year and who is considered. It's ridiculous. Like they've changed the name of ADD to ADHD to now I'm not sure if they have both. It had been all one under ADHD. Uh, I haven't checked. Every 5 years it changes to keep things nice and confusing. Shh, please. He's been so good and quiet while I've, been doing all the other things. But as soon as I'm talking, he's getting louder and louder. Of course, like that's a kid. Absolutely. And as long as it's nothing any destructive, which I'm grateful for, because sometimes he does get that way. Hey, Duncan, 1900 Homestead, welcome in. Um, so anyway, qualification wise, she was able to standardize test out at 16, and she was college level in everything but math. But math, she was still on, graduation level from high school. So we just stopped. And she was able to pursue some of her horseback riding. We were hoping, at the time, we were actually hoping that we would be doing some fostering. And it was soon after that we did end up getting Malachi. And he was just shy of 12 weeks old. He had sunken in mid face, very small for his size. He was born under 5 pounds. I don't know his APGAR score. That was the other thing. Hannah had an APGAR score when she was born. It's, what they say, what they're breathing like and everything else, respiration, heartbeat. Hannah's breathing was low and she ended up having asthma. I don't know what his breathing APGAR was because it looked like what they did. They were familiar with the mother because he was actually number 10. And it was almost, they just went check, 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 check. Everything's normal. It was later that we ended up doing like genetic testing and things like that. And they were looking for things that would act like autism or would act like fetal alcohol that or something else. And genetically, there wasn't anything else that showed up. But recently, I found out about a test that can possibly show whether or not they have enough, trying to think of it, it's a B vitamin, folate, and they need it, it's for their brain. And if their brain is not getting enough methylfolate, it'll affect their speech. And I struggle with B12 and B vitamins because I'm pretty sure I have the MTHFR gene, which is quite common, like a gene abnormality, which is quite common with kids on the spectrum. Hey, Netta's Nest, welcome in. But basically, this is going to be a weekly thing, and it's going to be for people who have family members who are differently abled, who may be on the spectrum, may just have some learning differences that make parenting them hard or watching them hard a little bit more difficult or a challenge. If you're a grandparent or an aunt to this child, I'm gonna have to like change my settings on my my camera. It won't stop going off because it's getting windy. By the way, I hope that storm, there's a storm out there in the Gulf right now, and I really hope it just fizzles out. We're already getting one, but it's supposed to head towards Texas, but still, we don't want one at all. Yeah, yeah, they do. But Miss Sharon, it's more extreme learning differences. It's more extreme. And it's also sensory processing disorders like um, you're in a classroom and say you're listening to the teacher and you have ADHD or you have high functioning autism. What can happen is the teacher's voice, the AC system, the lights, the kid next to you making a noise with his foot are all coming in at the same level, and you can't filter out the other things to hear the teacher's voice, and it becomes like it overwhelms you. And so you either check out, you act up, um, put your head down, go to sleep, which is shutting down sometimes for kids. So yeah, they all learn differently, but that would be multiple intelligences. That would cover that. And that's like learning differences in that respect. These are learning differences in it would show on testing, like one thing is up here and the other thing is way, way down here. And it can be just socially, like socially too. They can just really have a hard time functioning because the speech isn't there or at that level, or the processing isn't there. They're not hearing the same thing you're saying, or can't hear all the words because it's just not processing auditorily for them. But I hear what you're saying for sure. So I can see and hear you clearly. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, total sensory overload. And then, there's also a giftedness sometimes that comes with, ADHD, in that some of us can totally hyper focus, which you will get people that can be more towards the gifted and they don't have the dyslexia, and they can end up being emergency room doctors because they can just boop hyper focus. Like the stress helps them hyper focus. And I would get the hyper focus because I would procrastinate, and I would do it actually as a learned behavior, because that procrastination in school and in college would put enough pressure on me where it would shut on my hyper focus. I mean, turn on my hyper focus, and I could focus on what I had to get done. But I wish that I could also just do it a bit at a time, and then hyper focus. It didn't work for me that way. Oh, okay. Well, you were saying like they all learn differently. So I wasn't sure if yeah. This, I guess I just didn't understand that statement. Yeah, they do all learn differently. I do agree with that. And that's the like I was saying, like some kids are visual, auditory, hands-on learners. Yes, exactly. Sensory overload. My youngest two are gifted with ADHD. There you go. I kind of wish I had the giftedness. I kind of did, but not gifted in the areas of academics that mattered to my teachers, except for my art teacher. When I met up with her, she was like, no, 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 you've got a leaning towards this. You're really good. And unfortunately, that wasn't until my junior year in high school. And it was really considered my second junior year because I had gone away on a mission trip during the summer and missed summer school. I had made the decision that I was just going to stay in high school an extra year because I wasn't in a hurry to age out of high school. And, by the time I graduated, I didn't even turn 18 until I think it was July. So, yeah, it was fine. It was fine. It's a job, but was needed, so I wanted to hold it. Mm. So you were a paraprofessional or like a like something like a home health aide? If I could ask, Miss Sharon. One was great in school, the other has no interest. Interesting. So they still considered him, he was still, well, then again, some of the gifted kids, they don't have because they're bored. Yeah. Crunch time, genius. Yep. That's when it comes in. Yep. It's my daughter. She was labeled gifted, but talks about sensory overload. Yep. Yeah. And a lot of the kids that were on the gifted track when my nephew was in school were really, many of them were high functioning autistic. Or at least had a lot of the similarities to the kids who had high functioning autism, which was, the sensory overload. Um, Sometimes, too, they would have certain things that they avoided, certain things that were they would obsess over, like, or it was their interest, but they were like really interested in it, like super interested, and that didn't change year to year like it does with other kids who are kind of age appropriate. It would be like a fixation on that thing, and it could last even almost a lifetime. You see people on the spectrum who it can last a lifetime. Like boys, like a train, you see adult men who love trains when they were younger and continued to build trains and build tracks and make huge, towns and stuff, even as they got older. Like the interest never faded away. But you can use that too to your advantage in teaching them if you homeschool them or if you're in a classroom with them or if you're their parent at home and want to get them interested. You just, reward them with that, or you teach around the trains. Like Hannah, she loved horses or she loved butterflies. So I would do butterfly math or horse math because that was her hardest like subject. So we would count the horses and, things like that. Or count the butterflies. Like we would somehow try to bring her interest into it to keep her interested in it. So it wasn't just numbers, which are so abstract. Takes many different colors to make a rainbow. Yeah. Who says that one color is any greater than the other? All thought the same. There would be no new. Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely. There's a need for everybody. Everybody has a place. That's just it. It's like we in school make these kids feel like there's no place for them in the world, but there's so many places and so many things to do. Just because like maybe the school counselor can't think of it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist for that child. No, a friend of her had to figure out what worked and then teach the grandmother how. Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. That's amazing that you did that. That's kind of, yeah, the paraprofessionals do that in the classroom, and sometimes they can help um, the parent, with what they've discovered. Yeah, gifted doesn't mean overachiever. In fact, unless it's something that interests him. Yeah, he has nothing to do with it. Yeah, my nephew was Mensa IQ and gifted, but it doesn't mean that they necessarily have the motivation or that they don't shut down or that they don't get overwhelmed, um, or that they deal with regular, just day to day stuff better than anybody else. Get her to do anything no one else could. It was a long one. That's awesome, Miss Sharon. Would love for you to share some of those techniques that work for her and like maybe kind of what her weaknesses and strengths were and what you usually do is you use sometimes the strength to bring up the weakness. So um, Hannah's strength was hyperlexia. She could memorize sentence structure, words, but when it came to numbers, no. So we would do, she got older, we would do some word problems. Those were easier than, say, algebra. Um, even, yeah, the story, story problems were a little bit easier. But, what's funny is she sees it as we are not that great with algebra. It's very abstract and takes so many processes to remember with this abstract language of numbers for somebody who maybe can't remember all those processes. It's very difficult. But in school, if you showed me geometry and I could relate it to a shape, yeah, that's another thing that kids on the spectrum and who think differently, they will see in patterns sometimes where other people won't. Even when I would look at pictures that I needed to reproduce or something that, a still life, I would see it in shapes. And I remember my teacher asking me, like, how did you know how to draw that? And I was like, I just saw the shape of the shadow or the shape of this, outside portion. And I didn't even have the words for, negative space at that time. Yeah, I like that analogy too, the rainbow analogy. Right now he's playing drums and video games, keeping his attention. And Scout's trying to earn his Eagle Scout. Wow. Right. Yeah, the motivation can be really difficult. That's for sure. Um, if they're on the spectrum, and especially for kids who have um, any sort of ADHD, everything is a task. Like brushing your teeth, it's a task. Brushing your hair, taking a shower, those are all tasks as equal to homework. Doing the dishes, they're all kind of on the same level. And we get overwhelmed with tasks that it's like we can't even, and that's the other thing too, like when we achieve something, and I'm not saying this is all kids or all adults on the spectrum of ADHD, of that beginning portion of the spectrum of autism, it's just we don't even get to celebrate it much because either we are looking at the things that we didn't achieve well, or we're looking at the next task that we have to do that day. So we are constantly facing things that are tasks. It's really hard to explain to somebody who's like, oh, that's just discipline. And it's like, no, everything is kind of a challenge with us to stay on task, to not forget the task, like to not get distracted. Like I've heard of men describing their wives who have ADHD or their husbands, and they leave a trail throughout the house. Like they'll get out bread, want to make a sandwich, go to get the peanut butter. It's not where it's supposed to be. So they go in the pantry and then they see something in the pantry that reminds them that, the wash might not be done. And they go out and they check, okay, I got to put that load in and I got to put this other one in the dryer. They completely end up remembering things along the way, and they're doing those things completely forgetting that they're making a sandwich in the kitchen. So you might find like stuff out with the refrigerator open if you live with somebody with ADHD. Just they say it's fine. A very nice, Garrett. Try raising 3 gifted kids. They all learn differently. The youngest was in speech until 8th grade. The middle, OCD-ish. Yeah. Yes, mine is an introvert. And her and her dad are OCD-ish about time. They get very nervous with time. I bet it has. That sounds like a huge challenge. Well, I had all the kids in my classroom, and when I was teaching her at home, I was trying to pick up, like, do work from home as far as I would bring in like art students, and the ones that were homeschooled, a lot of them were on the spectrum. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But yeah, you're an amazing woman to deal with 3 of them. And the OCD part is very difficult to deal with. depending on not depending on anything. OCD is very difficult to deal with children and adults. Yeah, very busy house, and also all different input they need from you as a parent. I tell people my clay is just, hmm, mm. I used to love that song. Mold me and make me in your own special in your own way. I haven't heard it in so long. I need to. It's an older song. It does, and it's frustrating for the person because they think they see other people who are brilliant who are without the ADHD and they see them make these great achievements and they're like, "Well, I'm just as smart. If I just didn't get so distracted, I could do da da da." And it's almost when they can see too, like other students in the classroom, they study less and get higher grades, and they know they're just as smart as that child. However, their working memory doesn't work as well, and they have to go over and over and over it again. And then their filing, the way their brain files information, may not work to where they can retrieve it as easily, even though they know it, even though they know they have studied it, they'll get a B and they'll see that A on that kids and their other, on the other students' desk. And that student's like, oh, this was so easy. I hardly had to study. And internally, that kid is beating themselves up over their difference. And sometimes they don't even know. Yes. Yep. And that's hard for some parents who actually have OCD themselves, that they insist on their child learning the traditional way and just bring more and more frustration, or their child has autism and they say they're stubborn, um, or a communication disorder, and they say this child is stubborn. No, they don't understand. That's what it is they're not understanding. They're not being stubborn. They're not being difficult with you. They just don't understand. Um, and what's interesting is people will tell the parent that, and it's like, okay, the parent must have a touch of it too, because the parent just doesn't understand that their child is not being stubborn or not being difficult. Um, they're just not processing what you're trying to tell them, uh, and they can't help it necessarily. But yeah, algebra is difficult if you have bad memory. Yes, yes. If you have a bad working memory, reading, comprehension is difficult. Algebra, anything with extra steps is difficult. Exactly. Me too. Yeah. Except for when I had to try and teach it to Hannah, and we used a lot of different programs to try and figure out what might work for both of us, for my teaching style, her learning style. And we came to that conclusion that she is probably not going to go into any uh, career where she's going to be using algebra or lots and lots of math. As long as she knew how to balance a checkbook, things like that, yeah, she could teach herself pretty much anything. And she was smart enough to be able to teach herself what she wanted to teach herself as she got older. Um, and she's done that. Took me twice to pass. Yep. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. I took business math and they thought they were doing me a favor in college, and they pulled me out and gave me college algebra. And I was like, I don't, first of all, know how I ended up in business math, because I was still very ADHD at that point and didn't know I was. And second of all, I suck at algebra. Can we just have like I wanted geometry, but I had friends that helped me. They didn't help me cheat, but they helped me with the packet that they gave me. But then when I came home, my college algebra was already done, and I forget what I got to take at that time. Maybe it was the pre-algebra was allowed back then. I don't remember to get my associates. And once your associates is done, you're done with those math requirements. So yeah, I was so happy to move on to my bachelor's. Every day after breakfast with coloring. Learn their mood by the colors they choose or how they hold the crayons. Interesting. If they can hold the crayons. Yeah, that's the thing. If they can hold the crayons. My daughter was so introverted and shy, but she loved red. So we knew we had kind of a fighter inside of her. We just were like, okay, she's a little fighter in there. It is totally consumes brain energy. Yep. Oh, sorry, guys. I am really behind. Oh, hey. Oh, my goodness. I'm so behind. I'm so sorry. Wait a minute. Okay. I am so far behind. Here we go. To celebrate the victories and and successes in your life instead of being so hard on yourself. Exactly. My accent that way. Yep, guilty. Yep, you just described my entire life. That's me. Yeah, I do that too. Yep, everything has a place, and I try to keep it in. I tried that too, and then my mom passed away, and I got everything from storage, and it's just too much. Yeah, I had to hire my 14-year-old nephew to tutor me. He was a blessing. Best $100. Awesome. All the time, the cupboard doors. Yep, I'm very special. Yes, that's the thing. Time blindness is very common with parents who have ADHD and also their kids who have ADHD or are on the autism spectrum. God love. Oh, there we go. Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you, cool gamer too. You have to learn never meant his children to be in a box. That's right. He did. I love that. Yep, they do. They process it differently. We all do. Hey! Oh, thank you, J3. I know. What is that? Especially at my age, Brenda. I hear you. It's just not just my age, but it's also the ADHD now that has ADHD LMNOP is what I call it because it's met up with the fibro. Oh, and the math nowadays. Yeah, I think they do that on purpose to separate us from our children. Yeah, finish stones and all the ones they're clapping. Yeah, right. It is kind of too hot for a lot of work outside right now. Autism. The biggest thing that makes me most frustrated is when a person tries to redirect my intentions. A broken object and not as a human being. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you mean that you can like maybe feel them talking down to you and thinking that you don't know what you're doing? So they're trying to redirect you. Send ahead to come to that no matter the struggles or successes they kids most will eventually find their way. Yeah, most exactly. And that was one thing with Malachi. I needed to give him the time that he needed to first get over trauma, the trauma that he's been through. Not get over it completely, but to have a rest, from it. He didn't need to be thrown in and away from us and separated away from us. Pretty much the only parents that he knew well and who didn't neglect him to be thrown into school 8 hours of the day. Math and I don't get along, and yet I still managed to. Yeah, right, right. I know it's funny. Is my dad always said he wasn't good at math, but he was, and he just didn't realize it. He wasn't good at math, for maybe the higher level engineering, perhaps. I think I get the how I could be hard on myself. I get it from my dad because of my daughter. After I have 2-year college degree, wonderful in business and accounting. Whatever. That's awesome. Yeah, you're on a different level there, green country. Sometimes you talk and it's like, what the heck did he just say? Hey, Barry. A boomerang back to me in nursing. Yes, if you going for nursing, yeah. Well, anything in the sciences, you kind of get boomerang back to that, especially for your, hey, Dolores, your organic chem and things like that, chemistry. Yeah, I did not take chemistry or organic chem while I was in school. Biology was enough, and I forget what other science I took in college. All right, let me see. Okay, I think I'm almost caught up. Oops, it just jumped. Hold on. Oh, okay. We'll take it easy in case it's a hot one. You too, DCB. Thanks for coming in. Yes, be safe and stay hydrated, Storm said. I agree. Glad you are having some help. I helped someone who runs a Spectrum chat, and to see parents get enacted is the greatest thing because some feel, yeah, and that was the point of this, is we do tend to feel alone because it's with a special needs child, it's really hard to find babysitting. It's really hard to find places that we can go where they might not act out. Um, but I've tried to get Malachi used to going out and being in different environments. And he was really good at traveling too, because we would go up and see my parents. But he was not good at stopping at the hotels and sleeping because he was already taking naps in the car. So by the time we stopped, and this is a common thing with young children, they'll nap in the car. And by the time you stop for the night, they've had all their sleep pretty much off and on through the, journey. And you're exhausted from driving. And yeah, they're not, yeah. You are speaking. I've been hoping that you would have lives. Oh, thank you. I get misunderstood quite often by people that do not realize just how brilliant. Mm. Yeah, we all have a different gifting, that's for sure. But quadratic equations is not mine. It's sometimes I'm like, Jason, do you realize that a lot of people do not talk like you? Unless, like, I absolutely think you're amazing. And just like I said, like, I would love to have a chat with you, but you can just roll off these, Latin names for plants. And I'm like, sure. I'm having a hard time remembering the common name, but okay. I really want to be able to do that. I just need a little piece of that part of your brain that is able to do that. Just boop, like if I could plug it in. But Elon Musk, I'm not asking for a plug-in into my brain like you have. I've found people who struggle with math understand vocabulary. Sometimes I actually had dyslexia and had difficulty with math too. So it's not always. Yeah, it can be. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, everything has its own vocabulary. That's just it. Everything has its own vocabulary. And teaching has its own vocabulary. Um, Like when I said I went to go and I'm going to have to retake the art test, and I was reading about what's going to be on the art test and all the educational mumbo jumbo that they threw in the explanation that was the vocabulary that I used to know. I do not know anymore. I just don't know it. And it was kind of disheartening to me. Hard to hunt time in public places like grocery store, restaurant. Oh, sorry about that with my mic. No, give me that water. Give me the water. Yeah, that's too full for you to have over there. My son has a hard time with water and liquids. He wants to. Are you okay? You want to get down? I'm talking to the puppy right now. Are you okay? Welcome our guest, Rezzy. You all right? But yeah, that can be the lighting. It can be all the sounds, the smells. Yeah, that can be all sensory. It when it's public places. Short version, the equation is one that demonstrates two sets of true answers. Oh, here, I'm going to put you down because I'm afraid that you have to go wee wee. Oh, you're going to lay in my lap now. Okay. But who is the one making the choice? Which answer we experience? Yeah. I'll have to reread that one later. I was in elementary school and reading college. I could tell you what those were as well. Yeah, Hannah was doing that, but not maybe later elementary. She was right. She was reading at 3 years old, and they were like, "Oh, she's decoding," and I didn't understand what that meant. And then later on, it was like, "Well, maybe yes." At 3, she was decoding, but she was reading and writing little short stories in elementary, way above her grade level. Oh, really? Haha, that's funny. Too funny. You like my guest? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh, I heard that too. That's next door. She's reacting to possibly they're getting a new roof next door. So they're tapping. Do, 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 do. And she's probably thinking it's the door. It's not the door. It's okay. You want to get down? Do you want to get down? Let's see. My daughter drives me nowhere because folks look at her like she's the problem. Oh, yeah. I hated that. They don't understand that he is special because he doesn't look. Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of the kids on the spectrum is that they don't. And they do look like that at the parent and like, oh, why don't you just, discipline them more? Even the kids with ADHD, that was actually what back in the day in the 70s, they would say, they said it. Mom took me for testing. He said, just discipline her more. She just needs more discipline. ADHD was around back then, but way back then, yeah, girls didn't necessarily have it, but it was known about because I had a friend who was a year older than me. We were both born in Poughkeepsie. Our fathers were both with IBM, and his mother took him to a doctor, and he got diagnosed with ADHD. So they knew about it back then, but as a female, maybe I wasn't supposed to have it, or it was just a bad doctor who didn't know he wasn't keeping up on, his own reading. I have not. I will watch content about it. I will do research about helping my own children. I did do because I was busy with homeschooling Dolores, and I was trying to get her to just be around kids, any kids. So my journey with other parents that were special needs, I didn't join a group. I would see the parents maybe at the barn because my child was riding in a therapy program. And then I would see parents who were homeschooling and they didn't realize their kid was on the spectrum, or they didn't want the label for their kid. So that was the type of interactions I would have. And for somebody like me who has ADHD, socialization is not my strong point. It's actually just not. I mean, do I love people? Do I want to help people? Absolutely. Um, do I always want to be around them? No, I don't. I just, and I think that's most people these days, especially after 2020. Um, After being, I think, shut in, we became a little bit more hypersensitive. And that's what's so sad too about the special needs kids and what they used to do to them, which was completely uh, put them away from all socialization whatsoever. Um, and I'm not talking about like homeschooling. I'm talking about lock them away in a room, no interaction. Thank you. Hmm. Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah. I've never got to experience it. I thought that would be totally wild though. Yeah, there's people who the same thing. They'll uh they have they taste colors or the same thing. Like it's just really strange how the and kind of cool. It's like you're almost living in a movie. I don't know. It's just so wild. What a wild ride. But I imagine like does it turn you off? Oh, that's very cool. That's a cool one. That oh, but then how do you sleep? Yeah, it's a like somehow the neurodivergence, it's just a crossover of all those nerves. And I have heard of that. Yeah. In fact, I just heard of it recently again and wondered like what the experience is with him for him. One of the things I did do for him was I gave him my B complex. So this week I'm going to give him my B complex, which is the methylfolates, and they're broken down more and less synthetic than say maybe others might be. And then I have another um, a folate that is the same way, just to see if we see a difference because I couldn't remember if I was giving him um, my B vitamin, which is just a sublingual sort of B vitamin and B vitamin complex when he started all of a sudden saying words and combining them and making small sentences, and then it went away. But with fetal alcohol too, sadly that he has, that happens. You hear words and then you don't hear them again for a while. Hmm. But you hear it while you're awake too, right? Because yeah, I've definitely heard of that and wondered what that would be like. The thing is genetically, a lot of these parents are on the spectrum too, Dolores, and you're dealing with parents that don't realize that they're on the spectrum and that they have socializing difficulties. But also, a lot of neurodivergence, what you have is they're a little bit, they don't like the drama so much usually. So the ones usually causing a lot of the drama can be somebody who is neurodivergent and is just super oversensitive. But a lot of times, the ones stirring the pot or being passive aggressive are not neurodivergent. And you'll find that people with neurodivergency prefer being online, prefer interaction through the computer because they can control it a little bit better and step back and away from it and get a break from it easier than in person. Also, too, Hannah and I, when she was being homeschooled, and even when she was at school with me and she was over in the preschool building, she would pick up one cold, I would pick up another. We were getting sick and going back and forth. And then when we joined a co-op with other parents and I was teaching art to the high schoolers, and I think I had some middle school classes too, she was there, and same thing kind of happened. She ended up getting a walking pneumonia, and also that it was an extremely old building. So old building syndrome too for us is a thing because of our sensitivities. Hmm. Well, some of them do. They don't engage emotionally, or uh, they filter through intellect. Some others, it's just they're so sensitive that they back away when there's drama. And I find that I'm like that. And it's funny because I don't use that for my channel. Like when things have gone down on YouTube, I didn't make any lives about what went down because I don't like that. I don't want to stir it all up, and I don't want that. But I also um, will warn people or try to talk things out with people over and over again. And if they're being passive aggressive and won't discuss it and won't work it out with me, this is, excuse you, separate, from my family relationship. I will get to the point where it's like, I've tried to come to you and figure out what this is that you're coming at me with this passive aggression because I can feel it. And, you've blamed it on this or blamed it on that, but I've seen, the things that you've said. I've, heard from other people. I want nothing to do with this, and I bail. I just don't. I can't. I can't because it physically affects me. And I find that with people on a spectrum is that it physically will affect them. Yeah, they do a lot of Zoom meetings. I meet once or twice. That's good. Yeah. Yes, that's what I do. Yep. Yep. I just shut it down as far as away I go. Oh, okay. Thanks, Miss Sharon, for coming in. And yeah, you're going to have to share, maybe write down as you think of them. Like I liked that one with what colors that they pick out kind of would clue you in and stuff. I liked that. We did a journal for parents and the emotions that they can write it out. Good. Everyone, have a great afternoon and evening. Yeah, definitely big hugs for you and your auntie. Oh, thank you, Miss Sharon. Yeah, some people can journal. That's the other thing with ADHD. I start off journaling and then I put it down and have no idea. Once it's out of sight and I close it, I forget I'm journaling. I forget I had a journal. I forget I was writing my feelings down. Yeah, if it's not in direct, like right there in my line of vision, doesn't exist in my brain. I do the same thing in emotionally charged situations so I don't become emotionally polluted to prevent me from coming in polluted. I put an emotional shield between me and the other. I find shields difficult. I have to usually remove myself. Well, I know that I cannot fix people, especially since they are never going to see the world better. Yeah, and most people, aren't like going to see the world the way we see it and interact with it. That's true. That's not just for you, even though, you have that special ability where things are crossing over. Um, but yeah, I totally agree with you. We're not meant here. We're not. God gave us free will, and those people have free will too, and we're not supposed to control people. The people we're trying to somewhat control and really it's facilitate and work alongside of is our children, but we're even only controlling them to protect and to, you know, guide them towards a better outcome than they might choose for themselves. And boy, this little guy, he, because of the impulse control, can choose it quickly. So sometimes you will see me just, I have to go because he has chosen something that is not the greatest. So their emotions. I remember you saying that before, Terry. Yeah. Yeah, it can be. If I can remember the verses, it helps. Sometimes I draw a blank though, and my brain just shuts down, and yeah, I find it difficult. Mm, go ahead, Amy. Yeah, yeah. When we believe that and take it in, it is really not a good thing. And especially if you're on the spectrum, your OCD may not be external, it can be internal with internal relationship processing. Um, and the conversations will just play over and over and over again, and it's hard to break loose of those conversations. One of the things that I was listening to where it said, you know, that's actually in the past. Even what just happened to you is in the past. And so you have to focus on the future. And even if that requires you, getting busy with not busy to not like necessarily solve it, but you can't solve what's in the past. If you have, emotions to deal with, that's different. And yes, you should deal with some of those emotions. Like that made me feel this way. Uh, can I do anything about it moving forward? No, then it needs to stay back there and I need to get busy with something else. That's a physical shield, you stinker. Oh my. Metaphysically speaking, is a barrier between your own psyche and the miscast. Oh, mm, yeah, or those who think they are sorcerers of some respect. Yeah. I have a hard time with these people who are like, well, their karma is going to get them. And then you see that person and their life is just total crap, but karma is going to always get that other person. It's like, have you ever thought about the karma that's getting you? Is that karma? Oh, how did you get there? Yeah, they don't usually. Yeah. Yep. Hey. Oh no, not the mean girl stuff. Uh, hate the mean girl stuff. I'm sorry, Q. Yes, there are people that do it intentionally. Yes. Yes. Yes, yes. True. There's people though that get a thrill out of doing it, and those are the type of people that make me sick. Um, and yes, I've done it, and yes, I can be a bitch, but ones that get pure joy out of being the B word, I don't want to be around them. And I've seen them, I've dealt with them, especially Q talking about it. Um, Q talking about it like for her girls, that age level. Those mean girls sometimes never grow up. They remain that way, and um, some of them enjoy it, and it's sad. Yes, yes, and some of them choose evil and enjoy the evil they are doing because somehow it makes them feel like they are in control and above the person that they are inflicting it on. And I don't want to be around that. Yep. I don't want to be around that. In fact, we were having a discussion in Tampa live the other, I think it was actually, was it just last night? It might have been last night or the night before. And it was basically if a woman submits, is she controlling her husband? Well, she said it. How did she say it? It was something to that effect. And I was like, if I am controlling or using something to control, I'm manipulating, and I don't want to have anything to do with manipulation. Hey, good to see you, Anna. Mimsy's garden is back. She's got that new Wi-Fi. Yay! Is it Starlink or something that you guys ended up getting? I'm so glad you're back. It'll be nice to see you around, Mimsy. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. How was a kid able to do that kind of stuff? It's disgusting. I'm sorry. That's awful, gardening warrior. Oh, it's called Fastlink. Okay. We have a new one too, but I don't remember the name of it right now. But our HOA gave us a discount because, of course, we buy it all together, and it covers our Wi-Fi and our TV. But I was so sad because we got it right around Christmas time, and it took away the Hallmark Christmas movies. I was like, really? None of us are dadless, and if we do not know our earthly fathers, that is only one less barrier to overcome. Yeah, true. Still mean though. Still really mean to that child. So prayers would be appreciated very much. We have no idea, but it's causing a lot of stress and issues. I wonder if it's an adult posing as a child. That's terrible. And you're for sure, the girls aren't saying that and didn't do it themselves. That's what's always hard too, is just that age group. Ugh. But man, what age is doing that, gardening warrior? Because it could be like an older sibling of someone. Oh no, really? I've been getting that lately. I just thought it might be StreamYard to, YT doing it when I say, trigger words. The other girl's dad got himself unlocked. Wow, that's horrible. And I didn't know that about Maggie's dad. I'm sorry. I had a phone fix with the kinetic fiber. The affordability connectivity program ran out, so my bill. Ooh, are they not doing that anymore? Or I would think they do it for anyone on certain programs. Okay, it's all the platforms. Lovely. Oh no, if I'm not careful how I phrase things and wind up odd, but I have to work around bots. Yep, the packets get sent, but never. Yeah, I know. We were trying to do that the other night, and we were explaining that to Chris, and another channel who's still kind of new. Like, oh, there's certain words you can't say, and within 5 minutes, she said the word that we just said you can't say unintentionally because she's not used to. But thankfully, there were no like immediate repercussions, but still might not get shared out as much. It might get buried, might get shadow banned. What? No way. That's awful. You should be able to get something. That's terrible. I know about like what you said, the prime is reduced. I'm surprised there's not like a Wi-Fi for you too that is. Yeah, I see that 90 in this other girl's chat. Mm, great. I'm sorry. So sorry, Guardian Warrior. So then why would they think it was if her father died in the same manner? Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I made banana bread with chocolate chips today, Mimsy, out of my mom's cookbook that probably could have been also one that my great grandmother had because its original printings was in the 1800s. Love you too. Enjoy your bread time. Chaz particularly chart of qualities or supernatural tensions. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Oh yeah, because Maureen and I would say, God, or oh boy, I pray once in a while because something horrible is brought to my attention, and I just immediately pray. I was having some issues uh, with YouTube. Oh, I'm sorry, Barry. Exactly, Aid. I agree with you because I don't understand how some of these larger channels just can talk about anything and everything and nothing seems to happen to them. That's fine. Go ahead and, yeah, take that out. That's your personal business. I totally understand. I added the chocolate chips because my mom used to do that, and I made it with butter instead of shortening, of course. But I did equal ratios, and I'm not sure if when you melt shortening and you melt butter, if you're supposed to add more butter because the vegetable shortening or the vegetable oil seems to make things, or it stays more moist. Like, I don't know, but it still turned out pretty darn good, especially for I use gluten-free flour. Right? Yeah, I'm not on the diet right now. I have all these bananas I have to use up, and I decided I was going to make that banana bread and see how it turned out. Bye, Mimsy. Have a wonderful day. Uh, and yeah, I definitely had to use the banana bread. And what's funny is when I was mixing up the banana bread, I don't understand. The bananas turned out great, but sometimes the centers will be like stiff. I don't know how to explain it, like stringier than usual. And I was so concerned about when I made the banana bread that I'd be dealing with that. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is different. I know I have wheat that I need to grind. I was going to wait to do sourdough and everything until I lost a little weight. Now I'll have to wait to lose weight until after the banana bread is eaten up and the bananas are kind of gone. There you go. Yeah. And dark chocolate is good for you. And, that's what semi-sweet chocolate chips are. Dark. Uh-oh, I just saw me freeze. That's the signal, man. And it's not showing that it's dropping. It's something with StreamYard. Yeah, semi-sweet. dark chocolate. So dark chocolate and bananas are great for you. Yeah, really good that way too. I agree. Or with just honey butter, like room temperature honey butter that spreads really easily. Yeah, I know. That's what I was doing, but thankfully I stopped because I got full. Sorry. Sorry, Aid. It's all the way over here in Florida. I did the banana bread muffins. I ate almost 3 of them all by myself. There's my little muffin. It came out pretty good. It came out pretty good. I took a picture of the batter too. Somebody brought me some zucchini. Yeah. Yeah, the zucchini might make it a little bit more moist. The zucchini tends to do that. That's true. Well, warm, yeah, that's it for your dairy. Yeah. But all I was hoping was this would be a refuge for, parents or even, us adults who have learning differences to talk and maybe perhaps bring up guests and bring up people who have neurodiversity to talk about it and what has worked for them. Um, with I'm still looking because he's definitely much more difficult case than, say, Hannah was. But at the time when I was dealing with Hannah, she was a very difficult case, and I was very nervous. And uh, when I first found out, I was just, heartbroken because I wasn't sure what would happen and if I could help her. But thanks to her, it was like the more I researched, and it was saying, I remember one of the things it was talking about with dyslexia was has a hard time with left and right. All my life, I had to put out my L's. Okay, that's my left, which is about all my life. Probably, I would say the last, you know, directionally, um, sometimes it messed me up, especially, oh, please don't tell me north, south, east, and west for the longest time. That took me a very long time until somebody finally was like, Carol, east is the beach, north is your way out of Florida, and south is going down to Miami. And I was like, oh, okay. And your west is going over to the other coast to go to the Gulf of Mexico. But it took me until I was older and I was driving around and someone said that to me, and I was like, oh, okay. But still, like, I prefer visual directions. That's why I'm so glad they came out with GPS, and the GPS now talks to you and tells you. When that started happening, I was like, yay. And it's in English too. Also eating the stale chips. Yeah. Oh my. Yeah, I was thinking about doing steak tacos, but Theron has his salmon from last night. I ate mine. I made salmon with cauliflowered rice and for me, cauliflowered rice, carrots, and peas, and then I had a soy-free teriyaki with the salmon and that, and I added, of course, broccoli to it. And his was broccoli and salmon. Orientation is challenging considering that we walk sideways across. Oh, don't even add more stuff, Jason, please. Oh, you okay? Oh, our little pup has heart palpitations along with a cough. It's really the beginning of like a heart failure, but they haven't put her at that level yet. And it's a common thing with the breed. But yeah, the whole left, right, I was trying to remember, the working memory isn't working, basically. Um, will read through something over and over and over again and still has no clue what they just read. Yeah. I would usually have to read things out loud so I would hear it and process it auditorily in order to comprehend what I would read. So yeah, standardized testing sucked rocks. It was awful. That sounds good. Yum. Easy on the cilantro for me though, Shawnee. I'm one of those ones that I can taste it as soap, but not always. Sometimes I can taste it as cilantro. So I don't know if I have that gene or not. I'm not sure. But if it's, I think too, like if it's not super, super fresh, it turns soapy to me. Um, but yeah, I'm not one way or the other. I'm both. Like it can taste good in some you know, Mexican dishes and even at Chipotle when I used to get Chipotle before I realized, you know, how much contamination happens at Chipotle, that I could sometimes eat it and other times I couldn't because it would not taste right. I'm taking off my shoes, pardon me. I sit crisscross a lot, which probably is not good because then my feet can go numb. Yeah, the rest. Yeah, I've done with parsley and also dried moringa. I'll sprinkle over top. And I made these egg cups that I need to actually put up, that I made that are keto egg cups. And they turned out really good. They don't have cilantro, but they are like a Mexican flavor. I don't want to give too much away. Shoot, there it goes again. I don't want to give too much away about them, but they're quite tasty and they're dairy free because I didn't put cheese in them. So it's up to the person if they want to add cheese. But yeah, I am unsure like where this will go. Um, and I know that there are autism chats. I don't know of them. I've never really gotten into like Facebook groups and things like that. In all honesty, how Facebook has been so passive aggressive, I shy away from it and even get like EBGB feelings, but I try to go on there and I like some of the reels and things like that that are funny or encouraging, you know, but I'm very careful with the posting because there's some people I'm surprised that they don't even know they're being passive aggressive, but I can understand how that can happen if they don't understand the definition of it. And they're always like posting, you know, that they're the victim and it's passive aggressive posts. I'm just grateful that some of them I can't see them anymore. But it always gives sometimes of those vibes, and I just don't like it. Like even in the comments section of certain things, it's like settle down, just calm down. Even under, you know, YouTube videos, the comment section can go that way, and it's like, oh, okay, settle down, just settle down. We don't need to be that way, and it like physically causes me tension. I don't like it. Yeah. And Hannah was that. Hannah was very sensitive to any of that too. She would be, by tone of voice, you could put her in tears when she was little. So I had to always be very careful. And still to this day, I'm very careful with how I talk to her and, you know, watching my tone with her because she is so sensitive to that and sensitive to criticism. And I think a lot of the kids on the spectrum are. And then there's also the ones that are kind of disassociated from that. Uh-oh. Ow. Why are you doing that to me? What happened? Your tummy hurts? Are you hungry? Okay. Here. You want a bite? Muffin. You want a bite? Banana muffin. No. No, thank you. Oh, that's nice. Remember what I said about no, sir. Well, I'm gonna have to call it because Malachi's decided to act out. I thank you for spending this time with me. I will have things more organized, hopefully, as we move forward into, you know, having guests, having research, maybe having, thank you, having some, having some, yes, I'll wash your hands in a minute. Having slideshows and such. Come here, let me have your hand. Okay. Uh, but yeah, I'm gonna have to go because I think I need to change him. And yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, thanks. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I do want to really give us some place where we feel comfortable. He's hungry. Yeah, I don't he wants to get changed actually. And I do have to give him his third meal, but it shouldn't be right now. And he's had quite a bit. I think it's just maybe a little gas and he just wants my attention, which is fine too. All right, guys. I will talk to you later. Much love. And yeah, I will hopefully see you Friday. Okay, I'm going, honey. Can you say goodbye? Goodbye. You say goodbye too. No, don't give it to the dog. Bye, guys. Oops, not that one. Gotta hit end stream, not leave studio.